Welcome to CWS Christian Writing and Speaking. I'm your host, Jackie Wilson, and today's guest is an executive business coach and brand consultant who helps high profile leaders scale up or off the corporate ladder to create a life they don't need to escape from. She specializes in supporting leaders to take advantage of their team's strengths. She is passionate about working with alpha men to better understand and work with women. She also empowers women all over the world to embrace their unique strengths, scars, and stories in order to reclaim their voice, pursue their calling, and discover their purpose. She is able to address and dig deep to resolve issues of insecurity, imposter syndrome, negative mindset, toxic leadership, self control, and establish a balance of boundaries with humility, humor, and grace. She is also the founder and CEO of Great Legacy Partners. And today we are going to talk about how her faith is integral to everything that she does. Let's welcome to the CWS stage, Miss Karen Gray. Welcome.
Thank you, Jackie. Oh my gosh. What an introduction. I just feel so elevated by that. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Of course, I'm excited to hear your story, how you came to the point where you're helping people in
Mm,
this way. And my understanding is you're looking at the not only the science behind why it's important for people to pursue their passions and their calling, but you're also looking at the faith element as well. Do you mind sharing your story with our audience?
absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to share it. Um, I don't see how anyone can be successful by delineating out their faith. Like they're just one and the same.
Mm,
Everything about us is tied to who created us and why we were created. So for me, once I learned that and really understood how powerful that was, that's when I fully was able to really line up my career with my
mhm.
calling, and they became one.
Wow. And not only did you do it for yourself, but you're doing it for other people.
Absolutely. And that really is my calling, is helping people align back to their purpose, align back to the fire that's inside their heart. And as you mentioned, sometimes that's to scale up in their current career.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes it means that they've pursued a career that they're no longer in alignment with, and they're really ready to leave that job, if you will, and
Mm-hmm.
pursue a passion. And so having someone that's a coach, a business mentor to help them process that, I found has been just absolutely transformational. When someone is living a path that is in alignment with what they feel called to do at a core spiritual level, at their faith level, at their core values, it just changes everything.
Mm-hmm. Can you share with the audience one of the ways it changes people?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, let's take someone that maybe their family is academia. So they're all teachers, they're
Mm-hmm.
all professors and educators, and a person might feel compelled to follow that path because this is the tradition of their family.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't feel that that's their calling inside. However, they still do it.
Mm.
So to have the conversation, to really dive deep, perhaps they were meant to be a doctor, maybe they meant to were meant to be a ministry, or they have
Mm-hmm.
another calling, whatever that is, an entrepreneur. To help them align to that, to find that center and have
Mm-hmm.
the courage to follow that pursuit, regardless of what perhaps the outside world might say or what their family's expectations of them might be. And in most cases, families just want you to be happy. Your support team just wants you to be happy, whatever that is. But to have the courage to say, this is no longer what I do, is no longer who I am. Who I am is this
Mm-hmm.
at my core center. And so when that is in alignment, now stress is relieved, health symptoms, we begin when we're out of alignment, we begin to take on different things that aren't us, and we begin to feel very stressed. Our blood pressure goes up. So there's really scientific physiology things that happen, physiological
Mhm.
things that happen to us when we're not in alignment with what we're supposed to do.
Mm.
Our cortisol goes up, that influences our insulin, so we
Yeah.
might gain weight.
Yeah.
Our blood pressure, as I said. I mean, so many things. Women, especially in later years after childbirth, our kids are growing up. We have all of these symptoms that begin to happen to us. Our hair falls out. I mean, aches and pains in our joints. Sometimes that's exacerbated by living a life that we're just stressed out by.
Yeah.
So when you can live a life that brings you joy and peace and is just something that is so in alignment with your core spirit, a lot of those symptoms resolve themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe not all, because there's some hormonal things going on or diet things that need to be addressed, activity. But when all of that comes into alignment, man, women get
Mhm.
so powerful, impactful, and elevated.
Mhm. Yeah, and as mentioned, you love to empower women so that they are living in that overcoming spirit. But
Yes,
also, you are helping men have a better understanding of women and even how to treat their team members. Can you share more about that?
absolutely. I think oftentimes there is a perception that a strong woman has to be a certain way, has to have a certain attitude, sassiness about her. Or there's a perception that if someone is a strong woman and she's an alpha type woman, let's call her. So she's not afraid to have the hard conversations or she's not afraid to take charge in a meeting. That's perceived differently than a strong man. So a
Mm,
strong man can walk in a room, take charge, and everybody expects that. Strong woman walks in the room, takes charge, and people think she's, witchy or something.
yeah.
So being able to open up those conversations, those channels of communication to show the power, the impact, the true gift of having a woman who isn't afraid to have those conversations,
Hmm.
really opens up the possibilities within an organization because women possess so many skills that are needed inside of organizations for
Hmm.
leadership, for multitasking. I mean, you name it, a woman can do it. So having those hard conversations with men, and oftentimes um, men are more receptive to have those conversations with a woman, I found, than they are with another man.
Hmm.
So it's really interesting to once the door is open, the conversations that can happen in a very safe environment where it's a conversation. I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm not trying to push an agenda. It truly is an open conversation with dialogue back and forth. So many things can change in those rooms. And because I grew up with a really strong dad and I have a strong alpha husband, and I've coached some really strong men, I really have found a gift, I would say, of those conversations, of navigating those really confrontational conversations to make some true strides in the corporate ladder for women.
And I found it interesting that you said that it's hard for men to talk to other men about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like they're being judged? And the reason I'm asking this question is when we look within the church
Mm-hmm.
leadership, is it the same issue that is happening in the corporate world? And how do we help resolve that?
I think it can be definitely the same because inherently our culture has shown us that men have to be strong, right? The boys don't cry
Hmm.
philosophy. But when a man can show himself to be strong and caring and sensitive, it changes the culture in the room.
Hmm.
It changes the conversations that can happen. And so when a man can show himself vulnerable and open and receptive to other people's ideas, he can still be the strong go to person in the room, but he can
Hmm.
also be the person that is approachable. And so I feel like that's the difference. In many cases, men haven't been allowed themselves, I should say, to be that person. So they can present that to a woman in a way that they couldn't with another man.
Mm.
They can't show weakness, they can't show vulnerability, or they feel like they'll be thought less than
And
when
in
it's
some
actually the
cases,
opposite.
but is it possible that people do think less of, and I'm not talking particularly women, because
Mm-hmm.
a woman may find that it's attractive that a man is showing his vulnerable side,
Mm-hmm.
but when he is showing more vulnerability with another male, I mean, is it creating an environment where he feel like he can truly open up at all, or is he feeling judged?
I'm sure that there's a little of both. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on the environment, of course, but I feel like it's something that is happening more and more as coaching is becoming more accessible. Um, Mental health is becoming more of an acceptable conversation,
Mm-hmm.
talking about real life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is changing in our congregations and in corporate America. But there are obviously rooms where men are very judged if they show any type of weakness. But when you have strong men, let's say the strongest men in the room, that can still hold that place, they can still be the alpha in charge, but they can say, hey guys, I messed up. This is where I made a mistake, or this is where I'm struggling,
Mm-hmm.
and be real. They don't have to be weak. They don't have to present I can't do this,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it's, I need help doing this.
Mm.
And just that awareness, that conversation because everybody in the room is probably thinking the same thing about something else.
Mm-hmm.
So for the strong leaders in the room to say, hey guys, we're better
Mm-hmm.
together. We're better when we help each other and support each other and lift each other up. And this is where I'm struggling, rather than hiding it in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know when things are kept in the dark, we know what happens.
Oh yeah.
Right. So the toxic culture, the toxic conversations, it's time to let that go. It's time to truly embrace love first. So when we lead with love and we lead with the right intentions and we're vulnerable for the sake of building each other up, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's when the culture can change, truly
Yeah.
change, especially in our congregations, especially in church leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, unfortunately, we put pastors on a pedestal of unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
They should have our respect, they should have our support, but they're still humans and they're
Right.
still going to make mistakes and they're still going to do the best they can in every situation. Yes, the right people in the right positions can absolutely change a culture. They can change lives, help save lives. So,
Mm-hmm.
but they're still men, and we forget that oftentimes. So, giving them, those leaders, those men, a safe place to maybe, and let's say this also, they don't need to be vulnerable about everything in every room.
Mm-hmm.
There's a time and a place for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. And so you have this coaching program.
I
So
do.
if someone is interested in your program, what is the first step they should take?
My website is the best place to connect with me, coachkarengray.com. And there's a contact button. They can go there, express what they're really looking for. I do have my coaching packages on there, but I also do very custom bespoke packages. So if someone is looking for something very specific, whether it's maybe support inside of a church, for example, so leadership within the congregation, that would be something very different that's not on my package. So it's still something I could do. So it's just reach out to me, ask me, um, or let me know what your needs are, your concerns are. It's about a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. What's next for you, Karen?
Oh my gosh, Jackie, I have so much going on. I'm starting a brand new podcast. It's going to be, let's see, here we go. Champion the Human Spirit. So
Oh.
that's launching in January 2023. And along with my new podcast, I'm going to be hosting a retreat. in spring of 2023. So that'll be coming out. Also, December, January, we'll start promoting that, and the cart will be open for that for people to join us. And that retreat is going to be about, it's going to be called Evolve. And much like my Iron Monarch in my brand, it's really about the evolution. So getting back to our faith, how our faith can show up in everything that we do, from our home to how we lead in our community to how we lead in our career. So really that evolution of who I've grown to be, I'm gonna offer a safe space for others to come in and do as well. So I'm really
Wonderful.
excited about that retreat.
Wonderful. So you gave your website address. Can people connect with you on social media?
Absolutely. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Facebook. Those are my two biggest platforms that I'm at. And it's Coach Karen Gray as well. So pretty much search for me anywhere, Coach Karen Gray, and you can find me. I am on Instagram, but that's not where I live the most is Instagram. I'm sorry, LinkedIn or Facebook.
Wonderful. Karen, as we end your interview, I want you to
Yes.
give the audience a final word. What is the one thing that you absolutely want them to take away from the things that you've said and start implementing it in their life?
Wow. What a great question, Jackie. I would say probably one of the mantras of my life is that our greatest burdens, our greatest traumas, the things that we feel often as if they have happened to us can become our greatest blessings and the greatest gift that we have to give others. So, for example, mine is my adoption. That was something I carried as a scar and a wound for most of my life. And now the understanding of that and how it impacted me is now one of the greatest gifts that I have to use to give others. So, changing our mindset, changing how we see life is the greatest thing that we can do for ourselves.
Thank you for sharing that. CWS audience, to sum it up, and what I challenge you with is this: there has to be a space where you start to feel vulnerable so
Mm.
that you can truly express who you are and get to who you want to be in life. So find out the people, look around at the people that you're around. See if there's a space where you can open up to be vulnerable, whether you're alpha male, alpha female, whether you're in church leadership, so that you can truly become who you are and avoid all that negativity if you can. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And until next time, beautiful people, God bless.